taken me 3 days to get here. I'm in northeast Afghanistan, in Badakhshan, which is one of the remotest parts of Afghanistan. Decades of conflict and turmoil have shattered this once peaceful land. This is now one of the poorest places in the world, where half the population live on less than 50p a day. While millions of pounds are being spent on the war in the south, here in the isolated mountain villages of the impoverished north, a unique British charity, Afghan Aid, has worked tirelessly for more than 25 years. They provide agricultural support so people can feed themselves, get children back into education, and build essential roads and bridges. Afghan Aid have a staff who are almost all local with a huge amount of knowledge and expertise. They're trusted by communities and leaders, and this is particularly important when working with women. There's a traditional culture here that restricts women from being freely seen or spoken to by men or foreigners. Life here in Afghanistan has always been particularly tough for women. During the Taliban's reign, they were forced to hide away in their homes and were suffocated by the rules. They weren't allowed to go outside of the house for work, go to school, or even to laugh out loud. Public whipping was the punishment for not covering your ankles. When the Taliban fell in 2001, there was optimism that women's lives would improve. But for most, there's a long way to go. Every 28 minutes, a woman dies from childbirth in Afghanistan. That's an astounding figure. And here in Badakhshan alone, they experience the highest maternal mortality rates of anywhere in the world. There are only about 2,500 midwives in a country of around 30 million people. And in this incredibly remote area, medical facilities are almost impossible to find. If there are complications in childbirth, a mother may have to travel for up to 6 days in very harsh conditions. To stop 50 women a day needlessly dying, Afghan Aid were teaching volunteer women in the villages to share basic healthcare information and assist women giving birth. But the money for this training has run out. This is Mughal, who was trained by Afghan Aid, and right now we're going to visit Fazila, whose twins were delivered by Mughal, and there they are. Salam alaikum. But they're here. Hello. When Fazila gave birth, one twin was breech. She was alone and in excruciating pain. Mughal was summoned, and with the simple skills she had learned from Afghan Aid, she was able to pull baby Paragal out and resuscitate her. So, Mughal, what are the usual practices of giving birth? Mughal says it was very normal for women to die due to heavy bleeding. Because traditionally women sit over a hole to give birth, they can hemorrhage and die. Babies are often put in animal dung, and it sounds weird, but the thought behind it is that it keeps the babies warm. Oh, she's so cute and so happy. So this is the baby that Mughal saved, pulled out. Breech birth from Fazila. Fazila, how do you feel about what Mughal did? Fazila was saying that she owes her life to Mughal. Although Mughal didn't have equipment or the medical facilities of a hospital, the training that Afghan Aid gave her meant that she could deliver the babies, which just goes to show that it's relatively simple procedures and it can be really life-saving, and we can see the results here. Mughal says the number of deaths has decreased. 20 women used to die in the village every year. Now the numbers fall into 2 or 3. So those two little cuties are the happy part of the story. But the sad part of the story is that the funding has run out. So Afghan Aid can't train up more women like Mughal to be able to deliver happy and healthy babies, which means that there'll be deaths in villages everywhere. This village is lucky to have Mogul. It only costs £10 to train people like Mogul, and they can teach other women in the village the simple health care that will save lives. There are hundreds of women here who need this help now. One of them is Sabri. She's 8 months pregnant and she's going to have to give birth on her own. When you have had your children previously, has it been difficult? She says it was very hard. As there are no doctors or clinics or facilities, when she's had children previously, she's had to have them in the house. There's also no transportation, and she experienced very, very heavy bleeding. And so now, with her 7th child on the way, she feels very poorly and very weak. And her greatest fear is who will look after her other children if she does die. So you see, Afghan Aid really do need your help so that they can get their healthcare workers back into remote villages again, administering relatively simple procedures that will mean mums like Sabri don't have to go through childbirth alone and afraid again. More than half of Afghanistan's population is under the age of 19. Young lives have been shaped by war. This is a generation that has lost its childhood. Nearly a quarter of children don't reach the age of 5, and those who do survive often have to work hard with no chance of going to school. But Afghan Aid is working to give these children back their childhood. Over the last few years, it's reached out to more than 3,000 children, giving them a place to meet and share their problems. It also teaches them to gain the confidence to demand basic rights and education, and of course, simply to play. More than half of Afghan girls under 16 are forced into marriages, often to men more than twice their age. They're married long before their immature bodies can cope with the rigours of childbirth, which makes them 5 times more likely to die than women in their 20s. Asima is just 16. She was forced to be engaged at 14. Asima says that with Afghan Aid's teaching and support, she was brave enough to convince her family to break the engagement so she can finish school and achieve her dream to be a doctor. Asima says, and it's really brilliant that she's got it all planned out after school, then she wants to go to university, and you know, she's really excited. You can just see in her face. I mean, the opportunities that she has that she wouldn't have had she got married at such a young age are just amazing. I'm deeply moved by the sheer resilience of these communities against such adversity. Just £25 a month will pay a teacher's salary for a year, and a one-off donation of £10 is enough to train someone like Mogul for life. She can then save the lives of hundreds of women and babies. Thank you.